I'm here with you again to talk about Canada's international relations with not Britain, but the USA. From 1914 to 1980, not much change happened with us in the USA, as you can see. Isolation from the world was USA's main goal. They wanted to make their own economic growth, and they wanted to focus on themselves. Trade without tariffs helped unify the two economies. America and Canada collaborated many times throughout the World War I at this time and became much closer. Many people still distrust America and many of their policies at this time. USA produced some manufactured products for Canada, and Canada provided USA with some agriculture products and raw materials. So at this point in time, Canada and USA were allies, but not much relations were at place. Now let's talk about 1918 to 1939. At this point in time, Canada and the US established legation in 1926 and no longer dealt with each other through British offices. Canada's prosperity/future started to become dependent on the USA and its economic growth. And right here, as you can see the decline, this happened due to a major event called the Great Depression. At this point in time, Canada wanted to become they started isolating themselves from the USA so they can have backup plans just in case this ever happened. Although we are still very dependent on the USA, this was a major factor to Canada being a little bit more separated from them. Now, during the 1920s, as I said before, trade with the USA exceeded with Great Britain. USA started buying and owning many of Canada's large companies that produced oil, lumber, metal. During the span of 12 years, USA owned 641 companies by 1930. This was because of the free trade, because USA increased our economic growth and theirs by doing this. Now let's talk about Canada's international relations with USA from 1939 to 45. At this point in time, there wasn't that much change, but Canada was trying to create a better alliance with the USA, hoping that they will protect them if the Soviets were ever to attack, or if there was a war with the Soviets. Canada was the first time ever coordinated its defense plan with the USA, and Canada's primary goal is to become allied with America for protection and prosperity. America's economic growth also allowed Canada to grow, so Canada was very dependent on America. Now let's talk about Canada's international relations with the USA from 1946 to 65. At this point in time, Canada gets involved in the Cold War. As you can see here, there's a huge decline. That's because of the Cuban Missile Crisis. John Kennedy decided to leave us out of this huge historical negotiation, and this resulted in us being very distrustworthy toward the US. The Cuban Missile Crisis almost could have caused huge impacts for nature, economic, for our future generations. Our history as we know it today would be changed if something little was to happen. Also, let's say Canada and USA signed joint continental air defense called NORAD. This is how we started increasing our trust towards the USA, and this helped us become closer to them. Finally, in 1963, General Election John Diefenbaker accused the Americas of gross interference, which made us have a decline in the years to come. Now I'm going to talk to you guys about finally Canada's international relations with the USA from 1965 to 2019. At this point in time, many changes and continuities have occurred. In 1989, Canada and the USA established free trade with Brian Mulroney. This was a huge economic growth for both countries. In Vietnam, during the Vietnam War, caused Canadians to doubt the morality of the USA. That's why we have a certain decline here. Now, on September 11, 2001, Canada committed troops to an international campaign against terrorism in Afghanistan. That was after the 9/11 terrorist attack in the USA. We would like to support them and help them out so that terrorist attacks like that would never happen. Now, for example, in 2016, after Trump's election, he threatened to renegotiate the North American Free Trade Agreement and to seek greater military spending from America's NATO partners, thus giving us a feel that he is switching forces from Canada to different countries. Now, in 2018, the U.S., Canada, and Mexico reached a new trade deal to replace the current North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA. The United States, Mexico, Canada Agreement, USMCA, gives the U.S. greater market access to the dairy market. So although we've had a decline in our years to come, We can see many continuities because USA and Canada are still very close. Our economy depends on their economy. We're still very good allies because we coordinate our defense plans and everything with them. So we still do have many continuities. But for the future years to come with Donald Trump, we're afraid that we don't know. It's unpredictable what the years are to come. I'll see you in our last final clip for the rest of the world.